welcome back to my channel. So today I have a speed paint for you and I am really excited about this one. So before I get too into it, let me just do a quick overview of what I'm doing right now. I've already done the sketch of this. It was a little bit more of a detailed sketch than I normally do, and it was easier for me to sketch that off camera. And I'm currently using some paper to cover up the sketch and then flicking masking fluid on, because you'll see later on that this creates a starry night sky background for the piece. So now that that's out of the way, so I really wanted to kind of get back to my roots a little bit, and I have been feeling very dissatisfied with, I want to say with YouTube, but in reality it hasn't been with YouTube, and I think I thought it was, and in reality it was with my art. I don't think that my art was representing me. I think I love doing, like, I love making art and making illustrations, but I needed to take a step back and create something that was more in line with my roots. And by that I mean, I was a painting major in college and I really loved doing work with expressive colors, kind of semi-realism, and like laying down paint. I actually did oils. And I wanted to take this technique and this idea and bring it to watercolors and just kind of create a piece that was a little bit more meaningful. I feel like, especially recently, I've just been kind of phoning it in terms of artwork. I've just been making artwork that is not meaningful to me and is not something that I put as much time into as I could. And it's not something that I've really thought out beyond, oh, this would be a pretty picture. And I don't know, I felt like I needed to paint in a different way than I normally paint. And so that was kind of the way that I was approaching this painting. So I came up with this concept of this girl who is washing her hair in the night sky, and the stars are kind of mingling with her hair, and she's just very serene. And for me it was kind of about, I take a lot of solace in the nighttime and in the infinity of the universe, and like looking up into the stars and seeing all this space and just kind of taking a moment to stop and reflect upon your life and where you're going with your life and all that kind of stuff. And I just had this image come into my head, and I knew that I wanted to do it in a different style and as a slightly bigger piece than I normally do. So I decided to go ahead and do it in more of a realistic style. So I took some photo references and for the girl, and then for the painting, the night sky, I just looked at various night skies and just kind of went with it. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really hope that you guys like it. It's probably one of the most favorite pieces I've done probably this year, and I think it was really important for me to paint this. I think it was something that I needed to paint, and you know, I was really into it. I was listening to music, and I think with art sometimes you get this sort of euphoric high when you're painting, when you're really into it, and it's like no other. You're so involved in your artwork, and your heart is soaring, and your heart feels whole. And that's the feeling that I got when making this painting, and that's a feeling that I haven't had in a really long time. So this painting was actually really important and really special to me, so I really hope that you will like it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the technique now. So the paper that I'm using here, I think it's like Saunders watercolor paper. My mom gave it to me. I'll have to check what it is and write that down in the description box below, but I really liked it. It's a larger piece. I want to say maybe 11 by 17. And I started out with the background because I wanted a very dark background with nice, clean, crisp lines. So for the background, you already saw me paint it. It was mostly watercolor, primarily Dan Smith watercolor paints. But I really wasn't getting the intensity that I wanted, so I broke out my acrylic inks, which are inks that I haven't used in a really long time. Again, just really going back to my roots here. I used to use a lot of ink in my watercolor paintings because it can create very different effects. So I really liked using that, and it definitely brought up the intensity of the colors a lot, which was great. It was definitely what I was looking for. In terms of painting the girl herself, I approach things differently. I actually haven't really painted, I mean, I've painted watercolor this way before, but I tried to approach it from a different perspective. In the past, I've painted watercolor with lots of different colors and layering and stuff like that, and that wasn't different, but I approached this from an oil painting standpoint, where in oil painting I tend to lay a lot of colors down next to one another, and I actually tried to do that here. I tried to keep the blending minimal, and any blending that did happen for the most part was due to the wetness of the paper. So I was trying to be very cognizant of how wet the each layer of paint was, so I would know how much blending would happen with the layer I put on top. So I am really being fluid with the colors here. So I kind of started out with a basic skin tone, and then I started pulling in some yellow ochres and some purples and some blues, and really pushing the colors in a way that I haven't in a long time to create a realistic skin tone that has depth and movement? I don't know. I'm just saying artsy words now. That has like depth and stuff. And actually on the reference photo, I bumped the saturation up quite a bit to help me kind of see those colors and create some more dramatic transitions. And I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially her left arm in particular had a lot of really fun purples and pinks. So that was really fun to paint because I love purples and pinks. They're some of my favorite colors. And yeah, just kind of letting the paint blend on the canvas. I was dropping in pure cobalt blues and pure purples, and then lifting it back up, letting it blend with the colors that were already below it, and just really building it up slowly, mixing my colors on the palette in a way that created more naturalistic colors, kind of adding little bits instead of using the same color for the shadow everywhere. You know, I would adjust it for every single little shadow so that it felt more lively. And it was really therapeutic for me to paint this way. It was something that, like I said, I haven't done in a really long time, and I think it was something that I forgot I knew how to do. Because I've been doing so much cartoon work recently, and this isn't a perfect realist portrait. It's like semi-realism, which is fine. I was never going for full realism. I was going for more impressionistic brushwork and colors, but it's definitely a departure from what you guys have seen on my channel for the most part. And that was, it was something I needed, and it's something that I'm going to continue to explore, because it really felt like I was painting something that was intentional, and it felt, I don't know, like an expression of my heart. I know that sounds kind of silly, but that's just how it felt. So yeah, just really building up colors right now. The face was definitely the hardest part. So obviously there are errors in this painting, both anatomically and all of that, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it came out. But one of the hardest parts was the face, just making sure that everything was at least somewhat in proportion, and it is quite a hard angle. With the head tilted backwards, I wanted it to look cohesive with her body, and also I didn't want her chin to be too big, and getting those jawbones to recede was quite hard. I used quite a bit of blue because they aren't particularly in shadow, but they do need to recede. So one of the things that I will do if that's an issue where something is lit up but it needs to be pushed back is use light blue to push that back. And I actually did that with the left arm as well, because it's slightly foreshortened, which is why it looks short. And I don't think I did a perfect job on the foreshortening at all. But I did try to push it back using some light blue, which I think helped a little bit. That's probably one of the weaker parts of the painting, which I'm not supposed to talk about. Only focus on the good things. But the face was hard for me. The hardest part of the face was not overworking it. At some point I had to take a step back from the face when I could tell that I was overworking it, especially because for this piece I really wanted the colors to show. I didn't want things to get too muddy. I didn't want things to get too blended. And I think that did happen a little bit on the face. I think I overworked it just a little bit, but I think I stopped before I ruined it with overworking. I really didn't want it to get too muddy and too dull. So one of the things that I do, if you feel like you're getting frustrated, not even frustrated, but you feel like you're getting bogged down and you just keep messing with something, is to take a step back and move on to a different area of the painting if that's possible. If that's not possible, walk away for a couple of hours, because chances are when you come back, you're not going to see the flaws that you were seeing, and the flaws that are important will really stand out to you. So that's what I did with this case. In this case, I moved on to the hair and painted the hair, because the other thing too that is important when you're painting is it's really important to work the whole piece if you can. Now, obviously, I painted the whole background first because it's a night sky and I knew what color it was going to be, and she was going to respond to the sky wasn't going to respond to her. But overall, it's really important for a painting to work as a whole, and the reason for that is you need to know how your colors are working next to each other. So her face looks completely different when surrounded by the darkness of the hair, and at this point, you know, I wasn't getting that defining edge of where her head was, so it was hard for me to tell whether things were too big, whether things were receding properly, because I didn't have that demarcation of where her hairline was, because it was for the most part unpainted. So that's another thing about painting. That's one of my little tips, I guess, is really try to work around the painting so that you can see how things are working in reference to each other, because it's not just about how your paint works individually, it's about how it works in cohesion with everything else on the canvas. Another thing that I did in this painting that is very unusual for me in terms of watercolor, which I meant to mention earlier and I forgot, is I used almost exclusively flat brushes. For those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, you know that I use round brushes. That's pretty much all I ever use is round brushes for watercolor. And when I do oils or acrylics, I use flat brushes because it helps me lay out the color better. But I never use them for watercolor. So for this painting, I decided to use flat brushes for almost all of it, because I thought it would really help me not get bogged down in the details and really lay down that color the way that I wanted to. And it really did. It was an interruption in my workflow that was helpful. So, you know, sometimes it's good to change up your routine, the way that you normally do things, because it can create inspiration. I did use a round at certain points. I'm using one right now, mostly in the face to really help define things. And later on, I kind of added some dark, I don't want to say line work, I just added some dark kind of defining areas just in areas that I felt needed to pop a little bit more. And I used a round brush for that, but for the most part, I did use flat brushes for almost all of it. So that was definitely something new for me, and it was, I liked it. I think I'm going to use that technique again. So yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about this piece, but I honestly am really happy with how it came out. It's not perfect. It definitely has its flaws, but I think sometimes you can be happy with a painting, not because you think it's the best painting you've ever done, but because it was a painting that you needed to do, and so that painting has meaning for you. And that's kind of how I feel about this painting. It, for me, represents a change, like a time for me to stop and reevaluate where I was going with my art, and realize that one of the reasons I wasn't happy or wasn't inspired didn't have to do with YouTube or the changes that YouTube is making, or you know, anything to do with that. It had to do with the fact that I had really gone away from my roots, and I haven't painted this way in over a year. Probably not since, honestly, I haven't painted this way in 2-3 years. And I think it was really important. It was really important for me to do that. So yeah, rambly. I've repeated myself multiple times, but it was a train of thought painting. It's a train of thought video. It's just how we're gonna do it. But I really, really hope that you guys enjoyed this painting. Let me know what you think of this painting compared to my other works. If you liked it, if you like the style, if you're like, no, Alice, go back to cartooning. I'm interested to hear what you think. A couple things before I go. I'm using a piece of plastic wrap or cling film on my finger to help get rid of the masking fluid, which is a tip I saw from Iraville, I think her name is pronounced. And I'm also going in and adding metallic paint over the stars. There's also metallic paint in the background, so the painting is shiny, because if you know anything about me, you know that I love shiny, glittery, sparkly things. So anyway, that's it. That's it for this painting. I really hope you guys enjoyed this speed paint. It was really, really fun to paint, and yeah, I can't wait to hear what you think about it, and I'm gonna go. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys! They're cowboy studio lights or something on Amazon. I have 2 of them, and I point them towards the umbrella so it like reflects back on without any shadows. And I have this light which is